Hi there everybody, and welcome to another video. On this video I have this Toyota Auris. This is a 2016. I'm going to be changing the oil and the oil filter. We'll have a look at the coolant level and also just check the percentage of antifreeze. The coolant on that container there, it's for the hybrid system. We can also check at the level and the percentage of antifreeze on that. And also we'll just check the condition of the air filter and top up some screen wash fluid, which is what I'm going to start with just by opening that little cap there. So this is the fluid we use for cleaning the windscreen. This is the one I'm using. You can get some concentrated fluid or you can buy it ready mixed, which is probably easier, and then just pour it in there. This will prevent the liquid, this fluid, from freezing during winter. Certainly not today, which is supposed to be about 40 degrees here in the UK, and I am boiling to death. So I'm not concerned about freezing at the moment, but but nevertheless, having the proper fluid is advisable, as winter will come very soon, and then you will have, if you haven't got the proper fluid in there, it will freeze and you're not going to have any fluid coming out your washers just when you need it the most. Right, so once we top that up, we can close that little cover there. We can go ahead and check the air filter. The air filter is just located in here, so it's one of the easiest air filters there is. Just pull this cover out from these hooks, pull it up a little bit, and your filter will be sitting in there. We can just wiggle that out. Of course, with two hands everything would be a lot easier. This filter is not the cleanest, but it's not the worst either. The car has been serviced regularly, and normally we change this every 2 years, but also depends on the mileage as well. So anyway, I'm gonna fit this back in there and possibly decide if I change it or not later. That's a Toyota filter there. That's the part number there. So we can fit that back in there. So if you're replacing it, again, just fit it nicely around there. Get the two hooks at the back in place, push that down and clip that back on, and that would be done. So now we can check this coolant here. Just to remember, if the engine's been running, just be careful when you open these coolant expansion boxes. Even though the little caps are made for safety, they can fail, so you don't really want any boiling water coming out your arm, your hand, your face. So if you open them slowly, this particular car is not really hot at the moment, just a little bit warm because I had to move it into the garage and whatnot. But obviously if you just use the car, you've driven it, I don't know, 10 miles or something, then it will be hot. And just open this carefully, slowly, to release any pressure, while also keeping it, you can press it with your hand while you open it. Make sure it's not going to jump out. So we got that open, and this fluid is kind of pink in color, so it's easy to see. Let's try to focus a little bit on that. You have a mark there that says low, and usually the max for this type of container will be along this line here. So this is above the low, it's on the max. I think there is a little mark there that says, it says low there, but it says just up above the low it says full, and you have a line there for the low, and then above the full is kind of this area here. So that's where we are aiming to be at. Same for this one here, although this one you have your full mark is showing you here, and your low mark is showing you down here. Now there is a little line here. I can just feel it. Maybe you can't see it, or maybe you can, I'm not sure. But there is a little line just there, and that would be our full mark. So technically this is a little bit lower than the full, but it's also above the low. So it's in between, which again, it's a good level to be at. If you were below the low on any of the containers, you then want to find out what might be happening, because there might be a small leak somewhere which it's making that fluid go to the low. Now with this little tool here, I'm going to check the percentage of antifreeze. So that says -35. So basically that tells us we would need to be at -35 or above for this fluid to freeze, and that is not going to happen today. And let's check this one as well. So it's important to have the good percentage of coolant, because it will help your car, it will help your engine, as this fluid can also, if this was just water, it will freeze and it can damage the engine. So that's why we need to have coolant, and that says -30, around -32 or so, which is good as well. Good level. Antifreeze also protects the engine from corrosion, and each manufacturer has their own usually their own type of antifreeze. That's why we have also different colors: green, blue, pink or red. But I think what they do is they use different stuff that works with their engine design or materials that they're using to prevent corrosion and whatnot. Right, so having checked those two and our air filter and top up our screen wash fluid, we can move on to changing the oil and the oil filter. So for that, I'm going to pull the dipstick, which is just here, and leave it open like that, and also open this cap here, and again just leave it open like that. That's just to allow some air to come into the system while we drain the oil from underneath, and it just helps us drain the oil a little bit faster. So now I'm just gonna get the car up and we can drain the oil from underneath and tackle the filter. The filter I'm using is this one here. That is a Hengst, and it comes with these two, comes with that and that. Now we don't always use that because this filter fits different models, obviously. This little tool allows you to drain the oil filter housing, but not all cars use this. So we're gonna have a look. If it uses it, we're gonna use it. If it doesn't, we don't need it. We can just dispose of that. Also, this O-ring, we might not use it. Again, it depends if we use that and whatnot. So we may just be using this and this in this case scenario. So let's get the car up and tackle this system. Before that, we're also gonna need one of these to remove the filter cover where the filter will be sitting in there. Okay, so now we can get the car up and let's go for it. Okay, so looking at the car from underneath, we have this little pins here that we need to undo. This one is not very good, sort of coming off already, but if you pull on the center, these are very flimsy, right? So that's because it's broken. Anyway, the center bit is supposed to come out, and then you can remove this little pin, which then will allow us to open this cover. So there is another one here. I think that's the only one that might be in one piece. Okay, so once we take those out, will allow you to open this little cover here, which will then reveal the sun plug bolt and the oil filter, which is on this side here. So we're gonna tackle that in a minute. We're just going to put this cover back here and just hold it in this hole with one of these. So we can open that sun plug bolt now. Make sure you get an oil pan to catch the oil, and just remember, if the engine's been running, that oil can be very hot. So with a 14mm socket here, we can open this. Okay, we're gonna let that oil drain now, and we can open the filter. Okay, so while that is draining, we can open our filter here. It shouldn't be too tight. Make sure your oil pan is sitting under the filter as well, so we can catch the oil that will come out of there. There we are. So I'm just going to put this here, let it drain for a little while, and I'm gonna let this drain for another 10 minutes or so, and then we're going to prepare our filter and close our sun plug bolt here. The washer is stayed in there, so make sure that comes out as well. It can get stuck, so that's come out, and we're just gonna fit a new one anyway. So we can fit our sun plug bolt now. I got a new copper washer in there, so if you're gonna change that washer there, make sure you get a new one and get the correct size. So normally we tighten these to 15 or 20 Newton meters. Some are 25 Newton meters. Just depends on the car really. So if you have a torque wrench, you can torque that up. Okay, don't apply too much force to that. It can easily get damaged as well, so just be careful. Now we can tackle filter. So my filter should be nice and drained. And we can take this part out, dispose of that, so we can get the new one in there. Just before that, I'm going to remove the old O-ring. Make sure you get in the correct groove. Filter in. And a little bit of grease around this O-ring, or you can put a little bit of oil around this O-ring. That just helps this, when we put it back in, it helps slide the O-ring, so it doesn't get caught or damaged or anything like that, which could then allow oil to come out. So now we can fit this back in. Again, these ones normally can get tightened to 25 Newton meters. So I first put it in a little bit by hand, make sure it's going in the correct direction. And we can then get our ratchet and tighten that. So again, 25 Newton meters, not a lot of force. Once this is shut, give it an extra push and you can take that out. If you have a torque wrench, you can use that obviously and torque that up. Now we're gonna give that a little rinse. This is some cleaning fluid, which normally I use. It's brake cleaner, really. It's really good for cleaning oil. Dissolves any oil and gets rid of it. So you can wipe this nice and clean. So obviously we can monitor if we next year when we service it, if there's any leaks here or here, or obviously if we get any leaks in between, we can make sure it's not coming from here or here. So having done that, we can close this little cover, put the pins here and lower the car and put some oil in it. Okay, got my 4.2 in there. Let's close this cover. Now, if we look at the dipstick, here we have two little marks, or two dots there. So the dot on the right hand side will be the max, and the dot on the left will be the minimum. We want to be at the max. If I check it now, we'll probably be a little bit above the max, and that's because when we run the engine, some of that oil will go into the oil filter housing. So, don't know if you can see that, but that is above the little dot on the right. You can just about make out where the oil is. So just above the right dot, which is what I expect. And now I will run the engine, and that will go down a little bit because the oil is about 300 mils, depending on the car really, but between 300 and 500 mils go into the oil filter housing. Okay, that's pretty much it. So, engine's running nice and sweet. So, having said that, hope this video helps. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.